Have you ever wondered why that old pain, that seemingly overcome hurt, insists on returning? Or why you find yourself repeating the same patterns that hurt you, even knowing you shouldn't? There's a powerful explanation for this, and it's closer than you imagine, within your own biochemistry. And it's precisely about this biochemistry and its mysteries that we will talk about now. Prepare for a revelation that can change the way you see yourself and your suffering. Believe it or not, your body can be addicted to suffering. Yes, you heard that right. Our brain, this incredible machine, often creates neural pathways for negative emotions so deep that it pulls us back into the drama, into the vicious cycle of emotional pain. But the good news is, just as we create these patterns, we can undo them. Today, we will unravel the science behind the biochemistry of repetitive suffering and give you the key to reprogram your mind, transforming pain into freedom. To truly understand how this transformation is possible, we need to delve deeper into the mechanisms that keep us trapped. So, let's start our journey together. Thinking about patterns, have you noticed that person who always gets involved in similar relationships, or that situation at work that seems to repeat itself, no matter how much you try to change? This isn't bad luck, but rather a reflection of how our mind and body interact. It's social proof that many of us share similar challenges, seeking self-knowledge to break these ties. In this video, we will address: why do we repeat what hurts us? The answer lies in a fascinating intersection between psychology, neuroscience, and spirituality. Our body, at times, becomes a fertile ground for negative emotions, creating a cycle of suffering that seems difficult to break. But, by understanding how this works, you gain the power to rewrite your own story. We will demystify suffering and open the way for a more full and conscious life. After all, as the great philosopher Epictetus used to say, it is not what happens to us that affects us, but our reaction to what happens to us. Are you ready to change your reaction? And this change begins the moment you understand that, often, your own body is programmed for what you least want. You know, it's almost as if we are addicted to certain sensations, even the unpleasant ones. Have you ever stopped to think that, just as someone can get addicted to sugar or caffeine, alcohol, our body can develop a kind of emotional addiction to certain emotions, including negative ones? It sounds strange, right? But science, and neuroscience in particular, shows us that this is exactly what happens. And here, dear friend, lies a fundamental key to your spiritual awakening. Our brain is a machine for creating habits and patterns. When we experience an emotion, whether it's joy, anger, sadness, or fear, our brain activates a network of neurons. The more we repeat this emotion, the stronger and more established this network becomes. It's as if we create a neural highway for that emotion. And guess what? For the brain, it doesn't matter if the emotion is good or bad. What matters is repetition. Think about your daily life. Do you wake up already feeling anxious? This anxiety can be a pattern. Do you get irritated easily? Another pattern. These emotions release chemical substances in our body, neuropeptides. And if we remain in these emotional states for too long, our cells begin to develop receptors for these neuropeptides. It's as if the cells get used to eating these negative emotions. When the supply decreases, the body literally misses it and generates a desire to return to that state. This is the biochemistry of suffering in action, creating what we call emotional addiction. A simple example: the person who lives complaining. Initially, it may just be an outlet, but over time, the act of complaining and the associated emotions of frustration and pessimism become such an ingrained pattern that the body and mind expect it. It's a vicious circle where your body's own chemistry pushes you back into emotional pain. As Buddha would say, the mind is everything. You become what you think. And this is the first and fundamental layer to understanding why we repeat what hurts us. But the plot thickens even further when we realize that it's not just habit, but also how our brain reacts to this pain, seeking, in a way, a strange reward. Now, delving a little deeper into this complex web, let's talk about something even more counterintuitive: how emotional pain can, in some way, activate chemical rewards in our brain. It's as if there's a kind of disguised pleasure in what causes us pain, a true paradox of the biochemistry of suffering. When we experience emotional pain, be it deep sadness, intense anger, or even prolonged resentment, our body releases a series of substances, such as cortisol, adrenaline, and, in some cases, endogenous opioids. Yes, the body itself produces substances that, in small doses, can bring a sense of relief, or even a distorted, familiar type of comfort. This is one of the reasons why emotional addiction can be so treacherous. Imagine the person who is constantly in dramatic situations. The stress generated by these conflicts, the adrenaline rush, can become a kind of fuel for the brain. Even if the situation is painful, the familiarity with this chemical discharge can be interpreted as a form of reward by the nervous system. It's not that the brain likes to suffer, but it adapts to what it knows. This is a challenge, a real novelty in the way many people face suffering. Think of those who seek validation through victimhood. Attention, pity, even if ephemeral, can release dopamine, the neurotransmitter of pleasure and reward. It's a dysfunctional reward, of course, but it's a reward. This leads us to a crucial understanding. Emotional pain, no matter how much we consciously don't want it, can keep us trapped by this unconscious reward. To break this cycle of suffering, we need to become aware of how we are being rewarded by our pain. And this, my friends, is the first step towards true freedom and your spiritual awakening. Understanding this dysfunctional reward leads us to the next step, unraveling the complete mechanism that repeats itself, that cycle that seems to pull us back, even when we don't want it to. We understand that the body can become addicted to emotions, and that pain can bring chemical rewards. Now, let's put the pieces together and unravel the cycle of unconscious suffering that pulls us back into drama. It's a cycle that operates behind the scenes of our mind, often without us realizing it, preventing a true spiritual awakening. It all begins with activation. A situation, a word, a smell, any trigger can unleash an old emotion. For example, you hear a song that reminds you of a painful breakup. Automatically, your body and mind begin to retrieve that emotion. This familiarity with emotional pain is what the brain, unfortunately, recognizes. Next comes memory. It's not just the memory of the event itself, but the cellular memory of the emotion. Your body remembers that feeling, that tightness in the chest, the dry throat, the stomach ache. These are somatic memories of the emotion, and the mind, in turn, begins to relive the narrative, the story of the pain. It is at this point that the biochemistry of suffering manifests itself most tangibly. And finally, the return to drama. Once the emotion and memory are activated, we are almost magnetically pulled back into that familiar state of suffering. You find yourself dwelling on the past, fantasizing about negative scenarios, or even seeking situations that reinforce that pain. It's the famous, "Why does this always happen to me?" Because, in a way, our unconscious is programmed for it. As Viktor Frankl teaches us, between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. This cycle is a beaten path in the mental forest, a trail so well paved by habit that it's almost impossible not to follow it. But the great point is that, once you become aware of this cycle, you gain the power to change course. This is the crucial point for spiritual awakening. Awareness is the tool that breaks the cycle. But awareness, by itself, is only the beginning. We need practical tools, something that helps us, literally, to create new paths. And that's where an ancient practice comes in, with a power of biological reprogramming that you might not even imagine. The good news is that we are not condemned to repeat these patterns. There is a powerful tool, accessible to everyone, that can help us mentally reprogram our biochemistry and our mind: meditation. It is the path to a true spiritual awakening. Meditation is not just mental relaxation. It is a tool for the biological reprogramming of presence. When we meditate, especially focusing on breathing and bodily sensations, we are actively diverting our attention from past drama or future worries. We are bringing our consciousness to the now. It is an exercise in pure presence. And what happens when we do this? Our brain frequency changes. Instead of operating in the constant stress of survival mode, high-frequency beta waves, we enter states of relaxation and mindfulness, alpha and theta waves. In these states, our brain becomes more plastic, more prone to creating new neural connections. This is the key to mental reprogramming. It's as if we are clearing the weeds from the beaten path of suffering and beginning to plant new seeds, creating new neural pathways of peace, gratitude, and presence. Meditation allows us to observe thoughts and emotions without identifying with them. You are not your anger. You are experiencing anger. This distance allows automatic biochemical reactions to decrease, breaking the cycle of emotional addiction. With regular practice, our body begins to unlearn the constant discharge of stress hormones and to become accustomed to states of calm and well-being. This is the true biochemical reprogramming that meditation offers, acting directly on the biochemistry of suffering. It takes us off the autopilot of emotional pain and puts us in control of our own experience. And this is where the true spiritual awakening begins. For this idea to become even clearer and take root in your mind, I want to invite you to visualize this transformation in a simple, yet profoundly meaningful way. Think of your mind as a place you can, in fact, reshape. To solidify this idea, let's use a powerful metaphor. Imagine your mind as a vast forest. Every thought, every emotion you have, is like a walk through this forest. This analogy helps us visualize the biochemistry of suffering in a much more concrete way. When you repeat a pattern of suffering, that constant worry, the habitual sadness, the anger that always returns, you are, in fact, carving a path in this forest. Each time you walk this path, it becomes clearer, easier to follow. It's the path of emotional addiction, of familiar suffering. It's the most obvious path for your mind, because it's already paved. In the beginning, you may have created this path unintentionally, perhaps through an experience of emotional pain or trauma. But with repetition, it became so deep that your brain and body follow it almost automatically. That's why it's so hard to break certain patterns. The path is already there, inviting, almost like a shortcut to familiarity, even if it leads you back to the cycle of suffering. As Anais Nin wisely told us, life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage. It takes courage not to follow the beaten path. But here's the crucial insight for your spiritual awakening. You are not stuck on this path. The forest is vast. Meditation and self-awareness practices are like tools you use to start opening new paths. At first, these new paths may be difficult, full of obstacles, requiring effort and presence. But with every step you take on them, they become clearer and easier to follow. You are, literally, creating new neural pathways for peace, for joy, for gratitude. This is the essence of mental reprogramming. When you refuse to follow the old path of suffering, it begins to be overgrown by vegetation, to fade away. And the new paths, the paths of presence and well-being, become your mental highways. This metaphor is not just poetic. It reflects the plasticity of our brain and our innate ability to transform our deepest patterns. Suffering is a beaten path, but you have the power to open a new one. And it is with this powerful image in mind that we consolidate everything we have learned today. The possibility of change is in your hands, and new paths are being opened with every new choice you make. After all we've explored about the biochemistry of suffering, it becomes clear that repeating what hurts us is not a character flaw, but rather a complex entanglement of neurological and biochemical patterns that can, indeed, be unraveled. It's time to use this new understanding to your advantage. Remember, your body can be addicted to emotional addiction. Emotional pain can activate distorted rewards, and the unconscious cycle of suffering, activation, memory, and return to drama, is real. But the good news, the great key, is that meditation is your most powerful tool for the biological reprogramming of presence. It allows you to forge new trails in your mental forest, creating new paths of peace and well-being. Don't forget the extra tips we shared to strengthen your spiritual awakening: the importance of sleep and nutrition for your emotional biochemistry, the power of social relationships in pulling us out of negative patterns, and the immediate impact of conscious breathing exercises. Want a practical example? How about trying 10 minutes of meditation focused on breathing before bed, or replacing a processed snack with a fruit? Small actions create big changes in your mental health. As Buddha said, pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. And today, you have the knowledge and tools to make that choice. Spiritual awakening begins with awareness of what happens within us. Think with me. How much longer are you willing to walk the beaten path of suffering? Life is a scarcity of time, and every moment is an opportunity to create something new. What path will you start to open today? If these words touched something within you, perhaps it is time to take another step on this path of rediscovering your inner truth. Subscribe to the channel and activate notifications to continue receiving content that nourishes the soul with presence and authenticity. Share in the comments what resonated with your heart. Your story might be the mirror someone needed to find. And if you wish to continue in this vibration, watch the video we left on the card. It was chosen with care to continue this journey with you. Peace and light.